Sorry, we're closed.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. Sorry we're closed. You know the drill. Episode 92. I got two different topics I want to talk about today. One having to do with the coronavirus, which is always a touchy subject to say the least. And the other is baseball. Is a little bit of what's going on right now as far as talking about pitchers and them cheating and things like that with Josh Donaldson. We'll start with the coronavirus, the touchy subject. Recently, as you guys heard on my last show, that Governor Murphy here in New Jersey lifted the mask mandate. He lifted an indoor gathering mandate. Like, my bar can run normal. I can hold a line. I can have 100% of my occupancy in there. I don't need stools. I don't need tables. I don't need masks. We don't need anything. I, as a bar owner, so you guys know how I stand on this, I'm allowing nothing. I'm not checking for proof of vaccination. I am not, which I heard is borderline illegal with HIPAA, and I have really no idea. I know people like to throw things around like they are illegal. I don't really know if they are. But I'm not checking. I'm running a bar. If you decide to come, you take on what I consider assumed risk, which I think we should have been operating on a little while ago here in New Jersey, but I digress. So, as some of you, if you live in a city, if you live in a community, specifically in a city where you have apartment buildings, such as I do, you oftentimes have a board, and usually made up of either a combination of management and residents, or just residents that make up the board, and they tell the management what to do. So in my community, there is a board of all residents who then consult with the management as to what the decision of the board is. Right now, the big topic is masks. You know, we live in a community right now where there are good points to both sides of it. The argument for the masks right now in this community is that kids haven't had the opportunity to get vaccinated yet, so that we are now, by unmasking the adults that might be carrying the disease, whether they're vaccinated or not, now are exposing these kids unnecessarily to the virus. On top of that, it's their home, so that it's unavoidable. It's not like, they can just not come to Green Rock. That's where I'm not following that rule. Where you can avoid you can't avoid the grocery store, things like that, right? On the other side is that people are fed up with masks. It's been over a year of wearing them. This is also their home, and they don't want to be forced into wearing something they don't want to wear solely because someone else is uncomfortable with it. Once again, I understand both sides of it. Here's where it gets dicey. One is I'm uncomfortable. The other is I'm trying to protect my children. Whether it's founded or not, with their insecurities or them being scared of what's going on. Obviously, typically you lean towards, listen, I'm going to err on the side of caution, and I'm going to protect the kids. Here's where I stand, and I'm in the middle of this whole thing. I don't voice my opinion on these things, but this is where I'm at on this. If I'm the board, I'm never going to vote in favor of making us above the government. The government has come out, CDC has come out, and they're following the CDC and quote unquote science about this, and they've lifted the mask mandate. I will never want to be there on a board of a condominium complex and say, listen, nope, sorry, we're not doing that here. Because then you turn into the local government. Now people are going to be lobbying you for these rules and when they can change, when they can't change. How long does it take? Everyone's going to have different opinions. Not to mention, we will never get to 0% risk. There will always be some risk. I believe we're at a point now where it's assumed risk. Kids assume risk all the time. It's just like adults do. I don't want to get to the point. I will, if I was the board, I would follow the government. When the government says okay, I'm okay, and we'll move from there. And if there's kids in the establishments and all that stuff in the community, you ask. Hopefully, you have people. You listen. Some people are still uncomfortable. We would like you to mask up, maybe in closed spaces like an elevator or something like that. But I never think that you should be saying I know better than the government, because that's essentially what you're saying here. And maybe you do, maybe you don't. The other argument for this is that the pro-maskers, although they're taking excessive caution, which we've done throughout this entire pandemic, and rightfully so, but they've listened. In the beginning, their arguments were, let's listen to the CDC, let's listen to the science, listen to the state government, so on and so forth. And now that you disagree with the CDC and the state government and so forth, it's no longer about listening to them. And you got to kind of pick and choose here. You can't, either you agree and you're listening, this is what we're doing, we're going to follow the CDC. Or you can say, well, listen, it's case by case. So now you leave everything open for discussion, which is also unhealthy. In a community where there's a bunch of people, I understand, listen, I'm not here to try to infect kids with the coronavirus. But I'm saying, as if I was a board member, I would want nothing to do with trying. First, I would want nothing to do with this decision. I said on Twitter last night that there's like a Facebook group. It was blowing up with discussion and going back and forth. And then unfortunately, the admin actually pulled the ability to comment away, which I thought was incorrect, because she clearly stated that she disagreed with the non-masker, and you can't just pull the ability to comment away, because nothing got vulgar, nothing got offensive. They were going back and forth in a healthy debate, in my opinion, and they pulled it away. And I think solely pulled it away because she didn't agree with this guy's opinion, which I think was again, we're going into a position here where now you get to decide, what's best and what's not best, which I think is it's a slippery slope. You don't want that. You don't want these types of things getting into the community. You don't get to decide these things. Unfortunately, you're not the government. And people that, first of all, there will be people that don't mask. Let's just call a spade a spade. But if you try to enforce something, you're gonna have a fight on your hands. And if you really want to get carried away, you probably will lose, which is interesting. So it's an interesting thought process. I think a lot of people in cities, in urban communities that are in condominium complexes and apartment complexes are dealing with things like this right now, all over the world and all over the country. So that's my 2 cents, is that if I was a board member, I wouldn't want to become the government. Listen, the government said it's okay. Mask up if you feel uncomfortable still. If you're vaccinated and you're safe, unmask. We're done. We're not going to make excess of rules to what the government is currently making. And I think that's, in my opinion, the right decision. So that's what I have on the matter. Moving on to a lighter subject is baseball. Josh Donaldson had a little back and forth with Dallas Braden, which I'd love to pull up here. They had a little back and forth here on Twitter. And Josh Donaldson, I will sum it up for you. The cliff notes here is that essentially he says that he has a catalog of video of watching pitchers cheat. Now, I've talked about this a little bit before on the podcast here and there. I've talked about it in other podcasts. Baseball pitchers, I'll tell you right now, pitchers have been cheating. There is this, pitchers want grip on the baseball. I want grip on the baseball. I didn't do it all that often, but I want grip on the baseball. Plenty of people want grip on the baseball, where they do that thing where they spray Bullfrog sunscreen on their wrist and they hit the rosin bag, and it's a little tacky to get a little tack on the baseball. It's not cheating in my book. It's more so they're not looking to get crazy different pitches and make this a wiffle ball game. They're just trying to make sure they have control of the baseball. It's almost psychological, honestly, because you don't want the ball slipping out of your hand. And you want to have control of the baseball. It seems to have gotten in excess, and I've talked about this before, but Trevor Plouffe talked about it on Twitter a little bit. He had a little back and forth with me where he stated that he's not talking, when he's coming down hard on guys about this, he's not talking about the random Bullfrog and rosin and all that stuff. He's talking about this new stuff that apparently is making spin rate go insane. I had heard that the Astros were doing this a long time ago. Like, there's it's interesting to hear some of the stuff that they say is happening. So when we're talking about this, again, I want to make this clear to people that they're not talking about the normal stuff just to get a tack and a grip on the baseball. They're talking about over-the-top things that are making pitches way better, that are making spin rates way better, and so on, et cetera, et cetera. Josh Donaldson has a catalog of this. It been brought to my attention. I haven't seen the catalog by any means, but people had asked me on Twitter if I think that pitchers will start throwing at Josh Donaldson. Hey, listen, keep your nose out of it type of deal. No, and that won't happen. That's not going to solve anything. It's probably just going to push Josh to do it quicker. But it's an interesting predicament and could get very ugly. Hitters are not innocent in this world. It's not like they are following every rule by the book here. So there is an interesting dynamic here and it's not good for baseball. It's really not good for baseball. And baseball needs to step in my opinion, in a quiet manner. Not what happened with the Astros, where it's very publicized, but that's not really up to them. It's more so up to if the media allows that. And handle this privately. We don't want people like Joe West coming into the media saying, if you're not going to make me enforce it in Major League Baseball, I'm going to enforce it aggressively. I don't know that it's getting out of hand. I haven't been there. I assumed that these baseballs being monitored would at least curb it for a little while, any of the really aggressive stuff. But this could get ugly. This is not what the game of baseball needs. I think everyone agrees with that. No, we don't want any cheating happening, but we also don't need any scandals where we're talking about guys like, I don't know, big names in baseball. I know Trevor Bauer's name's been thrown out a lot. I don't know who else, but I think he's the only one that's got baseballs investigated this year. Nothing came of it, but baseball doesn't need this. Baseball doesn't need cheating. Baseball doesn't need scandals. Let's figure out here. Let's get to a point. Let's work with the players to figure out a way, because in reality, you would get rid of a lot of substances in the game of baseball if you just made the baseballs better. If when they rubbed up, they didn't feel like a cue ball. Because guys like me who want to play the game the right way wouldn't go to these substances, wouldn't do any of these types of things. But it's almost like a gateway drug. It's a gateway substance. You start with that and then, let me try a little bit more. Let's see if I can get that fastball a little bit better. It's a high pressure game, high intensity game. You think cheating doesn't happen, you're kidding yourself. I've said that 1,000 times. But if some of these gateway drugs wouldn't happen if we didn't have to do that, if we got these baseballs tacky already, if they had a good grip to the baseball, and we just don't. They make those seams so small that no one's using bullfrog and rosin in Little League. The seams are enormous. You feel like you have a grip no matter how sweaty your damn hand is. But now these seams are so small because, one, they want pitches to be thrown fast and they want balls to go far. The more the seams are, the less aerodynamic they are, the less they don't go as far, they don't get thrown as hard, so on and so forth. So we're in a position here where I think baseball needs to come to the table with the players and some of the leaders in the players, not just Tony Clark, but some leaders as their current players, and have a discussion, see how we can remedy this situation behind closed doors and make this better for everyone, because hitters are frustrated with the stuff that's happening with all this, apparently this crazy type of tack and things that these substances these pitchers are using. And again, I think a lot of this could be curbed if instead of enforcing rules, if you just made these baseballs to a point where these guys could use them without needing those things. And again, people wouldn't fall down that slippery slope of, let me use this, let me use that. Cheating will happen no matter what, forever. There will always be cheating. There will always guys that will take it to the next level. But if we can get rid of the guys that are just trying to do it for tack, I think you can kind of police those other guys a little bit better, and we can get to a better position and where baseball is being played in a little bit better fashion and less cheating. So that's my 2 cents there. I hope this doesn't get ugly. I hope that we have a good baseball season and we don't have to worry about all this off the field. Well, I guess it's technically on the field, but all this other bullshit. We got CBA agreement negotiations coming on, and that's not looking promising. So we don't need any more other bullshit that comes to the table here. So, guys, I hope you had a phenomenal Memorial Day weekend. I'm recording this on Friday, so Miranda can have her nice weekend. I'm looking forward to a nice weekend. I know we're supposed to have some rain here in New Jersey, but I hope that it was a fun one for you guys. I hope that you guys, were safe. I hope I feel comfortable with masking, not masking, whatever. I really don't give a shit, guys, to be quite honest with you guys. Do whatever the hell you want. I'm over it. I'm over the pandemic. I'm over it. I'm done. It's over in the world of Pat Light. So I hope that everyone else can find some health, some safety, and enjoy their weekends. And until next time, guys, I'll see you at the bar. Thank you so much for listening to the Sorry We're Closed podcast. Go subscribe to our email chain over at thepatlight.com and follow us on all social media. Until next time, guys, I'll see you at the bar.
Sorry, we're closed.